just trying to put a couple of ideas together here and see if I can relate them to YouTube and social media. But they're really ideas that come from different areas, and I'm not sure I'll be able to make the links verbally, but I'll give it a go. The first is to do with the production of space, and the second is to do with taste and distinction. And I'm borrowing these ideas from other writers. First, production of space. This is a book actually by Henri Lefebvre, French writer, and simplifying for effect. Basically, what he says there is that architectural spaces, the urban built environment particularly, is the way it is because it serves particular ends and shapes behaviour. And those ends, the production of that space, the architectural and town planning production of that space, serves the interests of particular individuals or particular kind of political, social formations. There's a quotation actually, not from Lefebvre, it comes from somebody else, but I've used it quite a bit, which is to do with a group will behave the way it looks. It's something that if you're a teacher or involved in education, it's quite important. A group behaves the way it looks. So if you want to, if you want to appear kind of like an authority, you rank all the people you're talking to in rows, and you stand slightly higher than them. If you want to have a kind of more democratic setup, you set them in a circle and you place yourself within that circle, and so on. And there's other forms of social formations, social groupings, because groups tend to behave the way they look. And the same is true of town planning, and the same is true of urban architecture. The behaviour of people and the way that people structure themselves into hierarchies and groups and gangs or whatever is largely to do with landscape and architecture, or at least it's partially to do with that. And that's Henri Lefebvre's idea, the production of space, produce space in that way. The second idea I'm kicking around with is to do with taste and distinction. And I say this is Pierre Bourdieu, who wrote this book called Distinction, which is about taste. Because we use taste in funny ways, don't we? We use taste partly to mean our own individual appreciation of something as a kind of mark of subjectivity. If we say something is my own personal taste, we're saying there's not an objective fact, it's a subjective experience, and it's uncontrovertible. You can't deny that my taste is my taste because it's completely personal to me, it's inside my body, you don't have access to it, etc. So we use it in that way as a mark of subjectivity. But taste also has this kind of sociological meaning, I think it's sociological, cultural meaning anyway, to mean things that are in the best possible taste. It's tastefully done, a tastefully organised room. As if it's got, if not objective markings, or it's got some kind of intersubjective agreement about it. You know what I mean? We like to think that we recognise good taste when we see it. We like to recognise there is a thing called good taste, and all those makeover shows on TV are all kind of about that, and art appreciation classes are all about that. Music appreciation classes are about the recognition that there is this thing called good taste, and if you go to a class you will learn to be able to appreciate it. You too will acquire good taste, you will develop that kind of special palate. And that's really interesting, and what Bourdieu is saying in there is, particularly in relation to this second understanding of taste, is that although it has this kind of quasi-objective quality, what we're really talking about there is something that is completely enmeshed within social formations. That really, those tastes that we want to acquire are the subjective tastes of particular individuals and groups, particularly the tastes of the individuals and groups at the top of hierarchies. So we all want to dress like whatever it's called, the people who are involved in a royal wedding, or we all want to dress like celebrities on TV, we all want to copy the dance moves from Lady Gaga, we all want to, that's, taste in this kind of quasi-objective way is actually foisted upon us, the idea goes, or it's aspirational, it isn't really objective at all, where what we're really doing is aspiring to a certain kind of hierarchical position. And we're trying to get to that position by claiming to have similar tastes, or trying to shape our tastes to match those people who are in that position. Okay, so trying to put those two things together and then apply it to YouTube social media. The way I'm kind of thinking of it, firstly, is that taste is a kind of space, or this idea of distinction that Bourdieu talks about, where you distinguish good taste from bad taste, the high art from low art, the camp and the kitsch from the ironic and the postmodern pastiche. You make those kind of distinctions, but those are kind of spatial distinctions, or we imagine them spatially. And these people who are in this part of the art world, or this part of the cultural domain, have got this thing called taste, and if we want to be like them, we have to kind of move over there and stand by them and share their taste. So I think something stand inside their body, really, I guess, if we want to really share their taste. That's the ultimate goal, I think. So there's something very spatial about taste in its in the way that Bourdieu talks about it, just in the way that it plays out through those spatial metaphors and the metaphor of distinction, that we draw a line between this part of the space and that part of the space, and we want to be on this part of the space, distinct from those people who have bad taste, those low-life plebs over there. So yeah, very spatial. But it's an odd space, particularly when you apply it to something like YouTube. It's an odd kind of space because it has that taste thing going through it, but it's very complicated. The arbiters of public taste vary constantly. The context shifts constantly. Something that is considered very good taste in one context, particularly perhaps if it's imported from the real world where established institutions are there to claim taste. If something's imported from those and put online onto YouTube, suddenly it has much more volatile status, much more fragile status as being in good taste, and it's very easy for that context to shift. So its subjectivity is kind of revealed, and at least partially, or at least its quasi-objectivity becomes questionable a lot, and contested, I think you would say. And other kinds of interests, other kinds of demarcations of this socially produced space, if I can return to Lefebvre, other kinds of demarcations come out. YouTube's terms of service, the things that we're allowed to do here, the behaviours that we're allowed to engage in this space, the places we're allowed to go in our thinking and in our actions, is not just demarcated by the institutions that arbiter taste in the outside world. They're the things that Google decides are good for its business, and it can change according to its whim, really. So it's not a level playing field, this place, this space. It has mountains that move about, immovable mountains. This weird, tasty space of YouTube. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. I need to keep thinking about this. But for me, there's something about the way that space is used on YouTube as a metaphor, but it's an ongoing metaphor that we can't avoid, and how that space is demarcated. Firstly, according to the corporate interest of an institution like Google, and also how those demarcations and distinctions are made according to different kinds of discourses, traditional discourses like high art and low art, more modern discourses like mass appeal, popularity, celebrity, and the role of individual subjectivity within that, and the changing fields of context that constantly surround everything we do. And there's my dog. She has very good taste. She didn't eat her dog food, but she did eat some chicken last night, which she was given.